Hi, this is Kevin for Pixavert.com. In this video I want to look at some of the features in Photoshop CS6 which allow you to create the kind of bokeh effects that you're looking at in this picture here. I'm going to be looking at some of the blur filters which allow you to produce a wide range of effects and which are a lot easier to use and more powerful than the previous best option in Photoshop, which was the lens blur filter. We're going to start off with the original image. I've converted it first of all into this bokeh image, and as you can see there, we've got these nice lights there, fairly subdued, a bit of focus there in the front for contrast, and then finally I applied a second filter to get this final effect. I'm gonna go back to the original and we work on the original this time. So we're gonna go to blur. We're gonna start off with field blur, because I think when you're looking for basic bokeh, field blur just covers the entire image and it's the easiest way to actually kind of appraise what's going on inside of the filter. We are going to basically go to this little unit here, and we can just increase the amount of blur by turning up the volume, as it were, like that. And normally you'll find a fairly warm point where things look good. And then you can go down to this second filter here, which is the light bokeh effects. The light bokeh just basically allows you to intensify the effect. I'm going to go up all the way to the max. As you can see there, it takes a couple of seconds just to round things out, and we've got some nice bokeh going on there, but it's really kind of wildly blown out. I'm going to now take this black slider in the light range down to 0, and this will really blow things out, but it will also allow us to see exactly what's going on with the light range. I'm going to take the white slider and bring it in there, and what you'll be able to see is this kind of like rainbow arcing in as I move the white slider to the right. And the white slider is basically the range control. Well, I'll call it the range control. I don't know what the exact title for it is. The black I like to think of as the threshold. So if we move the black up, you can see that rainbow kind of coming down, but this time it's actually a shadow descending. We're kind of limiting where the light bokeh is actually starting from, and we've got rid of most of the light bokeh that was coming from the sky. Now it's concentrated in the buildings. So as we increase this, we're kind of upping the threshold, if you like. We're now saying only the proper bokeh is going to come through, only the proper light bokeh is going to come through, and not anything that just happens to be a little bit bright. And the more we increase this, the more we limit the bokeh effect to the brightest parts of the image. We can also take the white slider down and just concentrate things more into a very narrow range. And that's what I'm going to do with this image. And in actual fact, what I decided to do in the very end was to come up with this kind of setting where we ended up with about 225 or so, and 255 for the white slider. We can take down the light bokeh, and this just reduces, this slider reduces the overall intensity of the effect. And you get a nice preview which shows you, roughly speaking, where you're going to end up after everything's sorted out. There's also this slider here that allows us to intensify the colors. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work so well. It's a lot quicker. I find this a lot more responsive than the old lens blur, which you could get some kind of bokeh out of. And I'll have a quick demonstration of how you actually do that in Photoshop CS5 at the end of the video. So we've now got a nice looking bokeh there, and this is the kind of image which you might be able to use maybe where you need sort of fairly dull background, unobtrusive background, and this works for that kind of situation. If you're maybe doing some 3D designs, this would really sort of give the impression of a lot of depth in your design. In the next video, I'm going to look at how to use one of the filters here. We've actually got 3 filters. I'm going to look at the tilt shift effect to see how we can use this particular gallery, this particular blur gallery, with a 3D design. But for this particular video, I'm just going to focus on the field blur, which gives us an overall perception of what's going on, and also the iris blur. The iris blur I find useful basically because it allows us to limit where the blur is going on. So with the iris blur, the central part is actually not blurred, whereas everything else is. Now I'm going to enter the same setting as I had for the field blur, 31 or thereabouts, maybe a bit more. Sometimes you get these kind of hot spots where you've got a bit too much brightness. And what you can do is just move this guy over there, and that really dulls down that bokeh effect. If I press M on the keyboard, you can see the mask that we're creating using this this kind of fade around the iris. And what we can do is that we can limit the amount of masking that we're getting by going to the focus box there, and I'm going to reduce that to 50%, maybe even 30%. We've got less of a masking going on. If I press M on the keyboard now, you can see we've got a lot less masking going on. Now with this iris blur, I can put another one there where we've got another hotspot, and once again I can reduce the focus down to about 30%. We can put another one there. There's another hotspot there. It's a bit more complicated than using the fill blur, so I would start off with the fill blur and then finish off with the iris blur if necessary. It would make a pretty decent looking background for an image where we just needed some plain looking cityscape background. I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to apply to the original image, and as you can see there, it's taken just a few seconds to complete. Now the final image was taken from this image, and all I did was just apply the field blur on some settings which seemed to work, and it produced this kind of effect. So it's a very flexible way of working with light bokeh. I'm going to have another video showing you how you can use the tilt shift blur effect when you're compositing a 3D scene. Some of the new features of the blur gallery make it a lot easier to do this than you would have been able to do with the lens blur effect. And as promised, I'm going to demonstrate how to use the lens blur in Photoshop CS5 to achieve a light bokeh effect. It's the radius, and in the specular highlights, the brightness and the threshold, which allows you to create a bokeh effect. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care. Bye.